Hello, I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Thanks for joining us on TCM. Tonight's lineup is a total frickin' disaster. Yes, I used the same line 2 weeks ago. This time, though, I added the word frickin' to mix it up. That's what great writers do. How much more relatable would James Joyce have been if he'd allowed himself to use milder forms of curse words? This is our third Wednesday night of the month covering disaster movies. We've previously featured disasters by sea and by air, leaving tonight for land catastrophes. Next week, by the way, our final Wednesday of the month, will focus on apocalyptic crises. We begin tonight with fire striking the tallest building on Earth in one of the seminal films of the genre. From 1974, The Towering Inferno. As the story begins, a state-of-the-art skyscraper is about to open in San Francisco, establishing a new record as the world's tallest building. While hundreds of guests assemble on the 135th floor to celebrate the grand opening, an electrical short 50 floors below portends doom. Towering Inferno was an epic production in every sense of the word. For starters, it was a collaboration between two different Hollywood studios, Warner Brothers and 20th Century Fox. The studios had recently acquired similar stories. Rather than produce two competing movies, they pooled their resources, striking a deal with producer Irwin Allen to adapt both stories as one larger-than-life production. Irwin Allen had recently burst onto the scene with another landmark disaster movie, The Poseidon Adventure, which quickly became a box office hit. With The Towering Inferno, Allen repeated the formula, including hiring the same screenwriter, Sterling Silliphant. Once again, Allen assembled a long roster of A-list Hollywood stars, led by two men, Paul Newman, who plays the architect of the building, and Steve McQueen as the fire chief. Faye Dunaway rounds out the triumvirate of stars as Newman's girlfriend. On top of those three, there's also William Holden, Fred Astaire, Susan Blakely, Richard Chamberlain, Robert Vaughn, Robert Wagner, O.J. Simpson, and in her final movie role, Jennifer Jones. So, if you've ever wondered, what do Fred Astaire and O.J. Simpson have in common? Well, now you know. From 1974, directed by John Gillerman, The Towering Inferno. The Towering Inferno was a mammoth production costing nearly $14 million. That's a lot of money in 1974, and requiring 57 different sets, including 5 floors of the skyscraper constructed in full scale. Special effects were also created on a large and dangerous scale. Producers hired more than 30 advisors to supervise the action sequences. In the end, those efforts paid off. The Towering Inferno became the highest-grossing film of 1974. It also did well at the Academy Awards, earning 8 nominations, winning 3 for Best Cinematography, Editing, and Original Song. Of all the extraordinary talent in the cast, only one actor received an Oscar nomination, Fred Astaire. Believe it or not, this was the only competitive Oscar Astaire was ever nominated for. Came 40 years into his movie career. Reflecting on the role, Astaire later said, Towering Inferno was a good cameo. If you're going to do a cameo, that was a good one to do because it stood out. Fred Astaire made a handful of other films in the late 70s and early 80s. For one of his co-stars, Jennifer Jones, Towering Inferno became her final movie role. She retired after, going out on a high note with a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actress. She became an Oscar winner 30 years earlier for her leading performance in The Song of Bernadette. Coming up, Charlton Heston and Ava Gardner lead another star-studded cast in a disaster movie released the same year as The Towering Inferno. Earthquake from 1974, directed by Mark Robeson. It's next on TCM.
Next on TCM, Earthquake, then Crack in the World, and later, Meteor. You're on a collision course with more TCM tonight.